everybody, and we are live this afternoon with Nick Canete from Kona Cranes. Thanks for joining us, Nick.
Hey, thanks for having me, Mike.
No, I appreciate it. So I guess the first question is, aside from a really cool name, what is Kona Cranes?
Yeah, sure. So Kona Cranes is a Finnish company. It's headquartered in Hyvinkää, Finland. It is a global overhead crane company. So not the type of cranes that you may be thinking of, which you see in any city skyline. Those are called tower cranes. Those are not the type of cranes we manufacture or service. These are more process-driven cranes in heavy or light manufacturing environments, but also in plenty of food manufacturing, process-driven environments. Mostly indoors, but not in all cases. Plenty of outdoor overhead lifting applications that we work on. But it's a global company operating in about 50 countries. We have nearly 17,000 employees. Here in the U.S., our corporate headquarters is in Springfield, Ohio. I work for the company in Northwest Indiana, where I live, but I work across the Midwest, leading a remote team of individuals focused on the day-to-day service operation, technical review, and procurement.
So first of all, like total different direction. When I thought cranes, I literally thought the ones that you see, the really big ones, making all the high rises.
Now that's why I have to say that, because I that's where most people's head goes when I tell them I work for a crane company, and that's where my head was at when I first heard of Kona Cranes. I often refer to it as like the largest company you've never heard of, but we work with a lot of really big players, from ExxonMobil to Caterpillar to General Motors, and then a lot of smaller end companies as well, medium, smaller size companies as well too. But the cranes typically found in steel mills, paper mills, any type of process-driven environment.
Like manufacturing as well type stuff?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I'm assuming there's much more business in what you do than in manufacturing those big, those monster cranes that there really can't be that many.
Our global sales for 2020 was about 3.2 billion for the company.
And so do you only manufacture them, or do you also maintain them and supply parts and everything else?
We do it all. We're full service. We manufacture our own various product lines of actual full-fledged cranes, but also hoists, and other parts associated with those lifting applications. We inspect them per OSHA regulations, and we also service them, repair them, retrofit, modernize.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. So let's go back a little bit. What was your path to Kona Cranes?
Sure. Yeah. So from 2015 to 2018, I was an undergraduate student full-time. Didn't work any professional type jobs. Actually delivered pizzas. When I was in college, I was in college in Chicago at North Park University, which is a small liberal arts college. So I spent 3 years there. But prior to that, I was in the U.S. Navy for 4 years. I served on an aircraft carrier. Junior enlisted. Separated as an E5 after just the one enlistment. Decided to devote my energy towards pursuing higher education full time. So I made the decision to leave the Navy. Right into college for 3 years there, and then graduated in spring of 2018. Worked for a company called LSG Group, which is a subsidiary of Lufthansa. So I worked for them in their airline catering division. Worked for them for about a year, and then decided to step up. I was operations supervisor, so very much operational role, sort of a frontline supervisor in their in-flight catering facility outside of Chicago's O'Hare Airport. Our big customer was United Airlines, so we supplied all the food and beverage and some of the equipment associated with it that goes on all the United flights out of O'Hare in Chicago.
Busy. It's a hub.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So I did fall into the statistic you shared the other day. I think it was like over 40%. I've seen varying statistics on this. I've seen as high as like 65% of veterans who leave their first post-military job in under a year. So I unfortunately did contribute to that because I was there about 10 months, and really my reason for leaving is great company, great people, good culture, but I was commuting about 55 miles one way. I live in Northwest Indiana, which is known as Chicagoland, Chicago suburbs, but O'Hare, as you may know, is up on like the northwest side of Chicago. So it was a trek every day to and from, and it just got really tiresome and costly and not sustainable. So I said, you know what, I need to step out into the job market and look for something, you know, more sustainable, more long term, more conducive to, you know, having a life outside of work, right?
Yeah.
And I found Kona Cranes actually on LinkedIn. I applied through LinkedIn through that easy apply feature, and I thought, you know, I'm never going to hear from this company. I don't know a single person that works there. I don't know anything about overhead cranes. And 2 days later, the recruiter reached out to me to do a phone interview, like a phone screening. So, and just that was in like just the very end of December of 2018. Just starting the new year in 2019, and then made the move in February of 2019 to start for Kona Cranes. Ironically, my first position with Kona Cranes was up near O'Hare, but the company very generously provided me, in my position at the time, I had a company issued vehicle for business and personal use. So I was, you know, still commuting, still spending the time, but not the money per se.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic, and it is quite ironic. I do have a question, just a little bit silly. You delivered pizza, you said, right?
In college, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
as a student veteran, yes.
But is deep dish pizza heavier? I just think about Chicago, and you guys have that like thick, heavy pizzas to
So
deliver.
I actually did that in the summer when I would go stay with my parents in Southwest Michigan. I worked for a little mom and pop owned pizzeria. This Sicilian family, and they spoke and yelled in Sicilian in the kitchen. And it was pretty awesome. But a lot of people from the Chicago area have cottages up there, lake houses up in Southwest Michigan. So definitely was delivering to a lot of them. But no, that was actually in Michigan.
Okay.
Over the summer.
Yeah. So Sicilian pizza, but I guess the swearing in Sicilian must have felt like being back in the Navy in a way, a little bit like home.
Yeah.
Not the Sicilian language, but the language in general. So sorry, a little sideways. I've been to Chicago once outside of the airport, and I didn't get a chance to get deep dish pizza. And so I'm waiting for the pandemic to be over so I can go back and actually try it. I don't think anything I get here is going to be the same in the Northern Virginia area. So, you apply, first of all, 4%, you apply online, leads to an interview, leads to a job. So, you know, did you ever ask the recruiter, like, what made you choose me, or what do you think made you stand out from the people that apply online?
Yeah, I did ask her. She's actually still with our company, but in a different capacity now. She's actually on the operations side, and somebody I consider a friend now after a couple of years. And she said it was my military experience and my education combined that made me stand out among the pack. But ultimately, that only got me the phone screening, right? You know, so the door was open, but I had to walk through it. So from there, you know, I did the phone screening. I had 2 in-person interviews. Obviously, this was before COVID. and then was offered a position and made a determination.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. How much prep work went into the interviews? Did you do a lot of prep ahead of time?
Yeah, a fair amount. I was pretty intentional when I made the decision. It was right after Christmas of 2018 that I decided I was going to step out into the job market, and I I knew I wanted to be very intentional about it. And
Mhm.
one thing that I did was I wrote down 6 or 7 variables that were important to me, and I tried to look at them, look at the big picture, look at each one individually though as well, and I tried to measure them on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being very important, one being the least important. And these were variables like location,
Mhm.
salary, the job itself, right? We want to get up in the morning. Can you see yourself going to the job, right? So a variable like that that I considered, and when I looked at the big picture for what was being offered at the time with Kona Cranes, everything was 7 or 8 or higher, and that's what led me in the direction to pursue the opportunity.
And obviously it's worked out since you're still there. So that's fantastic, and I think it's very insightful.
Yeah,
So go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah, I've been here for just over 2 years this month, and the company's given me a bunch of opportunity just in that short time, and I've taken a different position in that time. I now work locally, which is a huge boost to my life balance, right? Life in general. My office is 15, 20 minutes from where I live now. So here locally in Northwest Indiana, where there's a big market in the steel manufacturing as well as in oil and gas. We a lot of our customers that we service, customers like U.S. Steel or BP. So
No, that's awesome. So let's talk about your job. So what exactly do you schedule?
yeah,
Oh, we
yeah.
just lost.
So the title's a little ambiguous, I guess. Uh, so I oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got a little bit of a bad connection. Um,
Can you hear me?
there you go.
Okay. Yeah, the title is a little ambiguous. So like I said, I lead a remote team of about 10 individuals who are situated at all of our branches across the Midwest, as far west as Appleton, Wisconsin, and as far east as Detroit and Cincinnati. And these individuals are frontline like schedule coordinators, so they're scheduling our day-to-day service work, scheduling large projects,
Mhm.
communicating with our customers. A couple of the folks on my team are technical reviews, or what we call crane brains, and these are people who've worked out in the field on overhead cranes for a period of time, and now they analyze and review jobs from a technical lens when one sales someone our sales team. So we're looking for um, you know, anything that look a little off, or do we making sure we have the correct parts to order, making sure we have the right amount of labor hours estimated in the job, looking at the job from a technical standpoint. A couple of the other folks on the team are procurement, so um, focusing on issuing purchase orders to our vendors, receiving purchase orders from our customers, um, doing that sort of back end logistics administrative piece. But in my job as the schedule manager, so I work closely with our operations management team in my area of the Midwestern United States. Typical day for me is well, lately I've been trying to go to the gym in the morning, and that's when I'm working out. So I'm have that. But I get in usually about 7 o'clock, and start communicating with my team. I lead work in process meetings So we review branches order book on a weekly basis. We go through issues. We look at our forecast for the month. We discuss closings. We discuss order intake. It's really to drive revenue. It's not a sales position. It's 100% an operations position, but really keeping the foot on the gas pedal, so to speak, about driving our revenue across the Midwest.
Mhm.
There's a fair amount of data analytics and analyzing from ClickView, which is a digital tool that we use, or I'm working in our proprietary software, reviewing some of the larger projects that we have ongoing across the Midwest on any given month.
So when you talk about driving revenue, but not being sales, does that mean you have salespeople for you, or you're looking at opportunities to expand the scope of work with current clients, or include new services, or you're looking at ways to refine processes to reduce overhead, or all of the above?
All of the above. You hit it right on the head. Yes, we do have a dedicated sales team, both inside and outside sellers. As far as refining processes go, I'm continually involved in the conversation about that. Every company has its processes, and some companies struggle and some succeed. We're very much dedicated to improving our process, dedicated to improving how we streamline our operation. It's definitely a work in progress. I would say we're definitely not a finished product, but from my seat, I try to get buy-in from the members of my team and take into account what everybody has to say. Because I like that collective brainstorming.
Yeah, honestly, I'd say if you ever are a finished product, you're probably finished. If you're not constantly growing, constantly finding
Yeah.
and looking for better ways to do things, then you're not. Well, nobody will ever grow to be a company the size of Kona Cranes. So I would imagine you got there from a process of continuing improvement and bringing in new talent, new ideas, and looking for ways to expand. So I really love that you kind of focus on that, saying, "Hey, look, we're not a business. We're not a finished product. We're going to keep getting better." And I think that's the key to success. So you said you start at 7, or you start your exercising at 7? Oh,
I start my day. I start my work day at 7. So
okay.
I got to wake up at 5 and be out the door by 5:15 and go PT.
So how much of your day is spent in meetings?
A decent amount, and that's something I'm trying to reduce. Trying to reduce redundancies wherever I find them. But yeah, there's a fair amount of meetings. Uh, one day a week, we have these work process meetings where my territory operations manager and I talk to all 7 of our service branches across the Midwest, and that's where we're analyzing their order books, and we're talking about projects and really figuring out what it is we're going to accomplish on any given month. That's like 6 hours of calls on one day. Aside from that, one day, I try to do everything I can to reduce the meetings and improve the deep work time, you would call it.
And you don't want to, if you spend all your time in meetings, you don't actually get the work done. So I know. I wonder if that's something we also bring over from the military, or we try to. How much of your time is spent kind of looking at the business case for actions? Meaning, like, what is the impact of what we do going to be on people? What is it going to be on revenue? Kind of how much do you think you spend on that?
I would say a large amount. I consider myself very people focused and very cognizant of our culture? How do we improve our culture? We have great people, very smart people that work at this company. Um, how can we better serve them so that, they better serve our customers? Um, I'm very intrigued by this functional area, customer success. And we're not there yet in our approach, but I think we will get there as a company. I think when the customer is successful, you, the supplier, the vendor, whatever you'd like to call it, are successful. So uh,
Yeah.
I'm pretty keen on uh, when we're making process changes, when we're implementing new policies, how does it affect our people? Um, hearing from my team directly, getting feedback, trying to understand from perspectives.
No, I love it. So I guess the next question is what do you think you learned in the Navy that makes you more effective at what you're doing today?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing, I'm sure you've heard this a number of times, is just the discipline mentality that you can derive out of the military, right? If you go along with the process and follow uh, how the military can mold individuals. It's the discipline to uh, get up early and chase after it, right? Or it's the discipline to um, you know work harder on any given day. Um, it's a discipline to be organized. So I think my organizational skills are pretty. I know the Navy really improved that. They'll show you five different ways to do your clothes and make your bed. So um, above all, I would say discipline, but also I think from like a cultural standpoint, just working with all types of different people and
Mm-hmm.
getting the opportunity to travel around the world with the Navy. Um, that's been very beneficial. Understanding, you know, different types of people, getting to work with them. I mean, still to this day, the Navy's the most diverse environment I've ever been in, and that's including the two companies I've worked with since graduating college and college.
Yeah. No, I think that's an incredibly important aspect that many of us feel to realize is that when you serve, you you're surrounded by the ultimate diversity group. People every shape, size, color, background, educational background all come together into one force, and learning how to mold a team out of that is an incredibly underrated skill. And I think understanding people that come from different backgrounds, their perspective can help you build that team better. I think thank you. That's something I hadn't even really considered. I guess the next question is, and it's not a loaded question, but would you have qualified for the job you're in without the degree?
Yes, yes, actually. We
Okay.
have we have plenty of people who came to the company even at the field level as service technicians and worked in the field, worked on overhead cranes and turned wrenches and worked their way up from there to different either office based operational positions, sales positions, management positions. So yes, it is. It's not a requirement. I'd have to refer back to the job posting um, for my role or similar roles, but I think it's mentioned on there, but I don't believe it's a requirement. It's
So
not a
maybe
hard
it's a
line.
preferred. It's like a preferred, but not an actual requirement.
Yeah, I think it's preferred. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. You
Mhm.
know, say about the education, education has totally transformed my life, but I don't necessarily think it's the answer for everybody. Um, I've had a really good experience with it, but I've been extremely fortunate to be a recipient of the GI Bill. And
Hmm.
without the post 9/11 GI Bill, I can almost promise you I would not have pursued higher education. I would have been intimidated by the high costs. So
No, I hear you 100%. I think the reason I asked the question is, I want people to understand that, you know, you may not need a degree, but it definitely can open the door for people and to take advantage of that. Ideally, while they're still in, because one of the things you said was it was your service and the degree that was a differentiator. Um, so I guess the other question I have is if you were to talk to a transitioning service member now that wants to do something similar to what you're doing, manage a remote team, involved in, operations, business, scheduling, everything, or even just to come do what you're doing, what would you tell them? What would be your number one piece of advice?
number one piece of advice would be get on LinkedIn and learn LinkedIn. Uh, I think that's where it starts. It started for me, and I think for a lot of people. And I know you're a big LinkedIn guy, so I know you're nodding your head. But uh, this job came about by way of LinkedIn. My first job out of college, when I was with LSG Group, that came about by way of LinkedIn. So LinkedIn has been pretty transformational to my life. I've made some really genuine connections on the
Mhm.
platform. Um, I'm a total LinkedIn junkie. I love, I admire the company. I think the business model is great. But I would start there because that can open up all types of interesting possibilities and connections. So from there, I would seek out individuals that are in your preferred industry or maybe your preferred company or maybe a set of companies uh, that you have your eye on. Ask for informational interviews. I would say 8 or 9 times out of 10, people are pretty receptive, and certainly I think from veteran to veteran,
Yeah.
um, we have this shared experience. Even though maybe you were a sergeant major and I was a petty officer second class, and you served for an entire career and I served for 4 years, but we have this shared experience, this commonality that exists between us, and I think that's powerful. And I truly believe people want to help others. Uh, so I've had I've been mentored and mentored others on LinkedIn, and not necessarily about using the platform, but about career search, about resume assistance, and some about actually the functionality of using the platform and maximizing it. Um, but yeah, that's where I would start.
I love it. I'm a big fan as well. I wish we can get quite a few more young E5s active on the platform. I don't think the junior enlisted ranks are quite as engaged as they probably could or should be. But I think every day we're taking a step in that direction and getting more and more on. So,
Yeah,
last question. Go ahead, unless
when
you have something to add.
I was yeah, just to add to that, I was going to say when I look back 6 years ago when I left the Navy, I was woefully unprepared to transition, and it's laughable now because I'm who plans and prepares, and is a long-term thinker. And I don't know what I was thinking, but I didn't have a resume. I was not on LinkedIn. Um, I was not seeking. I was not asking for help, and that's the biggest thing. Don't be afraid to ask for help and give yourself some forgiveness for the mistakes that you're going to make along the way. There's going
Mhm.
to be some roadblocks, you're going to stumble. You have to give yourself some forgiveness for that.
Wow, that's
So
another
I had to
amazing.
get over that. Yeah, but I'm sorry. Go ahead with your last question.
No, you just hit me over the head with another great point. I think that's asking for help is so important. Um, and I don't understand why, as service members, when we're in this community where we're all one team and we have no problem asking for help while we serve. In fact, a lot of times that's how you get stuff done. And then we come up against this transition and we either decide not to face it, or when we do hit these uncertain areas, we tend to go at it ourselves. And that's not how the world works out here. Everything revolves around relationships. And you're right. We have this. It doesn't matter if you serve for 24 or 4 years, you're a veteran. It doesn't matter if you're active, guard, or reserve, you're a veteran. And a lot of times veterans are going to be open to having that conversation with another veteran. So not everybody's going to say yes, but you don't need everybody to say yes. You need one or two to say yes. And that's life-changing. And it changed my life, and,
Right.
and I know you feel the same way.
Right. And lastly, what I'll say about LinkedIn is that, I tell the veterans that I come in contact to on this very subject, and it's, if you don't be a little vulnerable and put yourself out there, put yourself online, you have a digital presence, a brand, if you want to call it that, a profile, nobody's going to know you exist. So why should anybody consider you for an employment opportunity if they don't even know you exist? With everything being online, this is not 1990 anymore, where you might go and physically show up to a company and with a hard copy of your resume. This is largely done online. It's all
Yeah.
done online. So
You just made me remember my first jobs when I showed up and asked for an application and filled them out in the little
sorry
booth on the side. So thanks. Just dated me there. Yeah, I'm old, but no, I guess my last question is, if a service member, wants to reach out and learn more, or have questions or seek some advice, can they reach out to you on LinkedIn?
Absolutely, 100%. I believe you tagged me in this LinkedIn post. So yeah, please, reach out to me. I'm an open book.
Awesome. Well, Nick, thank you so much. I will go ahead and make sure you're tagged on it so people can reach out. And this will also be on our YouTube channel, so people can go ahead and watch it whenever or refer it to other people. But I learned a lot, and it was incredibly insightful. So thank you for your time this afternoon. I know how valuable it is. And please don't hesitate to reach out if you need anything from me in the future. Awesome.
Thanks a lot, Mike. I appreciate the opportunity to talk, and keep doing what you're doing. I followed you for a good amount of time, and the messages that you convey, it's important work. So people would be it would behoove them to hear that. So
awesome. Thank you so much.